Secretly married for 7 years, my superstar wife, Victoria Ainsworth, suddenly made an announcement with the rising pop idol, Thorne, during her concert. Yes, we have a child together. After the concert, I went to confront Victoria, but she dismissed me coolly. It was just a child, she said. She merely wanted to fulfill her childhood flame, Ethan's dream of being a father, telling me not to be so petty. Overwhelmed, I revealed the truth about our secret marriage. Public opinion exploded. She was forced into retirement, and her cherished Ethan, unable to bear the pressure, committed suicide by jumping off a building. Victoria didn't blame me. Instead, she became incredibly close to me again. I thought she had finally had a change of heart. But on the day after our child was born, if it was ours, she invited my father, mother, grandfather, and grandmother over, supposedly to celebrate. Then she set the villa ablaze, burning everything to the ground. As I lay dying, I watched her twisted expression in despair. You all deserve to die. All of you should accompany Ethan in death. Then I opened my eyes. I was back on the day they made their announcement at the concert. This time, I led the applause. Bravo, the word escaped my lips as I realized I'd been reborn. I shot to my feet, clapping furiously. The people around me were still stunned into silence. My sudden applause startled them, and they began to clap uncertainly as well. Watching the pair on stage, I felt like the past 7 years of my devotion had been utterly wasted, like feeding a dog. In my previous life, I had nearly broken down. I ran to Victoria, demanding an explanation. All I got was this reply: Ethan isn't like you. He's at a crucial stage in his career. If his fans found out he had a child with a married woman, he'd be blacklisted. So, let's get divorced first. We can remarry after the baby is born. Her words felt like daggers to my heart, but I suppressed the pain and asked, did that lowlife threaten you with something? Victoria shot me a cold glance. What difference does it make now? Are you going to push Ethan to his death? Just like that, I was kicked out of the backstage area. Watching them leave the venue arm in arm, I eventually posted everything online, only to end up dead myself. Reborn, I found myself backstage at the concert once again. Sincere, let's get divorced first, Victoria said. Her first words exactly the same as in my past life. This time, however, I didn't argue. I simply nodded. All right. Victoria perhaps hadn't expected this reaction. She froze for a moment. By the time she snapped out of it, I had already walked some distance away. She hurried after me, grabbing my arm, a flicker of panic in her eyes. We'll remarry after the baby is born. Her voice was uncharacteristically gentle, but I paid her no mind. All I wanted now was to get away from this toxic woman. I nodded again and went home, silently packing my bags. On the way back, I had already arranged for a job in Europe. I had sacrificed my career prospects for Victoria. Now it was time to cut my losses. That night, Victoria returned flawlessly made up. What truly enraged me was that her beloved Ethan Thorne came with her. Sincere, sorry to intrude, Ethan said, carrying a suitcase. His tone was polite, but his head was held high, eyes full of undisguised mockery. As he spoke, he casually wrapped an arm around Victoria's waist. Victoria made a token effort to push him away. When he didn't let go, she shot him a glare before turning to me and making excuses. Since we've announced it, we need to live together for the next year. Think of it as helping Ethan's career. Seeing her defend him, I glanced back and replied curtly, do whatever you want. Then I turned to head back to the bedroom. However, I hadn't taken more than a few steps before Victoria stopped me. Tonight, Ethan and I will take the master bedroom. You sleep in the guest room. Find time to move out tomorrow. I never dreamed Victoria would say something like this. Technically, we were still husband and wife. The divorce papers weren't even signed. I turned back, staring at her in shock. Victoria averted her gaze, unable to meet my eyes directly. From an angle Victoria couldn't see, Ethan met my gaze with extreme mockery. His eyes seemed to say, I'm going to sleep with your wife right under your nose. What can you do about it? but verbally he feigned concern. "Victoria, isn't this a bit inappropriate? After all, Sincere is still your husband, you and I. It's just an act for the public." Ethan put on a hurt expression, lowering his head dejectedly. "It's just hard on the child having no mother around after being born." 2. Ethan's pitiful tone reached Victoria's ears, and her expression hardened slightly. She stopped avoiding my gaze and spoke coldly. "There's no other way. Sincere, you need to understand. It's my child, too, after all. You have to understand me." Hearing those callous words, my heart finally died. Ever since Ethan returned to the country, Victoria had constantly told me to understand her when she was too busy with work to come home for a month, understand her when she wouldn't let me visit her on set, understand her when rumors about her and Ethan surfaced. Because I once loved her deeply, she took my affection for granted, becoming arrogant. No matter what she did, she'd demand my understanding in a near-commanding tone. I clenched my fist silently, rage simmering within me. But the thought that this madwoman might harm my family forced me to regain control. "I'll settle this score properly once I get my family safely to Europe." Without another word, I walked straight to the guest room. Before I could even close the door, I heard Ethan's brazen voice. "See, Victoria? Just like you said. As long as you ask, he obeys without hesitation. Doesn't even care if you and I have a little history. Sincere really loves you, doesn't he?" Victoria seemed to relish his words, her tone becoming noticeably lighter. "That's his only remaining virtue." Then the master bedroom door slammed shut, followed by the faint sound of hurried footsteps. Victoria's words cut into my heart like a carving knife. There was a time when she would lie in my arms, her eyes full of stars, telling me all the things she loved about me. My gentleness, my seriousness, the way I talked. But ever since Ethan returned, her impression of me had shrunk to a single virtue: obedience. The room was well soundproofed, but the occasional thudding sound still echoed in my mind. My heart was completely numb. My mind raced, planning how to protect my family. After what felt like an eternity, a notification popped up on my phone. It was from Ethan.
"I don't know why you're shamelessly clinging to Victoria."
"Or maybe you have special tastes? Haha. In that case, here's a little something for you." Attached was a video. In it was my wife, her face flushed with pleasure. "Faster, Ethan, faster," her broken moans echoed in my ears. Victoria had completely let go, or rather, they had been prepared for this all along. I silently contacted my lawyer, Lawyer Evans, asking him to prepare the divorce papers. What I didn't expect was that while I was talking to my lawyer, Victoria would push open my bedroom door. Sincere. She called my name softly, her voice sickly sweet and full of satisfaction, a tone I had never heard from her before. Before I could react, she slipped into my bed. Her sweaty skin touched mine, making me recoil in disgust. Yet, as if oblivious to my reaction, she pressed closer again. "Sincere, I know this is hard on you. You know Ethan's situation. He just came back, his career is just starting to pick up. If I don't help him now, what will happen to him later?" Victoria seemed to be apologizing, but there was no trace of remorse in her voice. "Do whatever you want," I said flatly. I couldn't stand the smell on her. I sat up, preparing to get out of bed and go to the living room. Victoria clearly hadn't expected my reaction. In the dim light, her expression, hair still damp, was a fascinating mix of emotions. 3. From confusion to bewilderment to anger. "Sincere, what is the meaning of this?" Victoria's voice was terrifyingly cold. "Nothing. Since we're getting divorced, we shouldn't sleep together." "I'll move out tomorrow," I replied calmly. Shock and panic flashed across Victoria's face. "Sincere, have I been too lenient with you? All evening you've been giving me the cold shoulder, acting all grumpy. Let me tell you, if you keep making trouble like this, you can forget about remarrying. I'm just helping Ethan fulfill his dream of being a father. Do you really need to make such a big deal out of it?" Victoria's piercing words echoed in the room. I really wasn't in the mood to argue with her anymore. I went straight to the living room. Once the lawyer arrives tomorrow and the papers are signed, I'll take my family and fly to Europe. Victoria angrily returned to the master bedroom. The night passed uneventfully. The next morning, Lawyer Evans arrived. I took the divorce papers, about to call Victoria to wake her up. Just then, Ethan emerged into the living room wearing a bathrobe. Marks from their night together were plainly visible on his neck. He saw the 2 documents in my hand, raised an eyebrow, and walked straight over. "Divorce papers, right?" He looked at me mockingly. "Should have done this sooner. You don't deserve Victoria. Why cling on?" He looked at me with utter disdain, his mockery undisguised. "I don't know what Victoria was thinking, keeping a dog like you around even though she clearly doesn't like you. Maybe she's just too nice. Anyone else you wouldn't even be fit to wash their dishes." Seeing Ethan's smug, petty expression, my heart felt ice cold. Just wait until I get to Europe. Let's see if they can still maintain this attitude. However, before I could speak, the bedroom door suddenly opened. Ethan's expression changed slightly. He violently grabbed my hand and threw himself backward uncontrollably. Victoria screamed upon seeing this, rushing over in 3 quick strides. After checking Ethan's condition, a sharp slap landed on my face. "Sincere, how much do you despise Ethan? Why do you always do this? Can't you learn to be a little understanding like Ethan?" "Victoria, I'm fine." Sincere has every right to be angry. Ethan added fuel to the fire at just the right moment. Victoria's anger intensified. "What did Ethan do wrong to deserve being targeted by you like this? He clearly wanted to get along with you, but look at you, you must apologize to Ethan today. If you don't apologize, then this divorce is final. No second chances looking at this crazy woman before me." I found it almost laughable. I held out the divorce agreement. Victoria snatched a pen and signed it without even looking. "Now get out." I couldn't be bothered with her anymore. I felt incredibly relieved. After signing the papers, I entrusted Lawyer Evans to handle the remaining details. Then, I took my family and boarded the plane to Europe. Just as the plane was about to take off, I sent out the massive collection of files I had already prepared to multiple entertainment media outlets. As I was about to turn off my phone, I suddenly remembered the video Ethan had sent me. Without hesitation, I forwarded that too. Then I switched off my phone. This time, let's see how Victoria and Ethan handle this mess. 4. The moment I moved out of the house, Victoria and Ethan threw their arms around each other impatiently. "Victoria, turn off your phone," Ethan suddenly suggested as if remembering something. "Huh? Why? Otherwise, just when things get passionate between us, Sincere might cause trouble again." Okay, whatever you say." The second Victoria switched off her phone, her assistant, Ms. Miller, called. The busy signal nearly made Ms. Miller explode. Just moments before, multiple entertainment media outlets had simultaneously dropped bombshell exposés. Singing superstar secretly married for years, ditched husband for pop idol. Superstar's scandalous video goes viral. Headlines like these were everywhere. Within a short time, the news shot to the top of the trending lists. Although the media hadn't released the most damning evidence yet, the sheer coordinated effort indicated they almost certainly had significant proof. Ms. Miller had no idea what Victoria had actually done, making emergency PR efforts nearly impossible. She didn't know how serious the revelations were, or whether the media outlets wanted money or just clicks. But now, it was too late to buy off the trending topic. The story had already gained massive traction. Still no contact with Victoria. The office door swung open. Victoria's boss, Dominic Harper, couldn't sit still any longer. Ms. Miller scrambled to her feet. "Mr. Harper, no, we haven't been able to reach her." Dominic Harper's face was livid. Victoria was the company's cash cow. This kind of scandal, if mishandled, could be devastating for an entertainment agency. "Don't wait any longer. Go to her house. You have 1 hour. You must get in contact with her." Dominic Harper's eyes were cold. "If you can't reach her, prepare to cut ties." Having navigated the entertainment industry for years, Dominic Harper knew that when you didn't know the extent of the evidence, The media possessed, the best strategy was often not to fight, but to find an opportunity to distance the company quickly. Ms. Miller instantly understood the implication and shivered. "Understood, Mr. Harper." She rushed out of the office. Ethan Thorne's agency wasn't faring much better. While pop idols thrive on attention, negative press, especially involving ethical breaches, was toxic. Ethan's agent, Mr. Davies, was pacing frantically like ants on a hot pan, muttering, "How did this kid get into such a huge mess? His career can't be ruined like this." He quickly assembled his team to brainstorm a rescue plan, but faced with the rapidly escalating online firestorm, they were momentarily clueless. Just yesterday, they were celebrating their artist latching onto a superstar, anticipating a meteoric rise. Now, barely overnight, the narrative had completely flipped. "Still haven't reached him? If we can't get hold of him, prepare a strategy to leverage the negative attention." Unlike Victoria's company, the PR tactics for an idol agency focused on traffic were different. Since Ethan wasn't the core focus of the initial scandal, skillful manipulation could potentially paint him as a seduced and deceived victim. 5. Victoria's assistant, Ms. Miller, sped frantically to Victoria's house. Ringing the doorbell yielded no response. Desperate, she used her spare key to open the door. Inside, the house was a mess. The master bedroom door was ajar, the lingering scent of intimacy still in the air, but Victoria was nowhere to be found. Ms. Miller's head buzzed, her heart sinking. She had a terrible premonition. She had been calling Victoria non-stop on the way over, only to be met with the switched-off message every time. For the company and Victoria, time was now critical. The gossip-hungry netizens were becoming active, and some media outlets were already releasing details. If they didn't implement emergency PR immediately, it would be too late. Similarly, Ethan's agency had already finalized 2 contingency plans, one of which positioned Ethan as the victim. While everyone was in frantic damage control mode, Ethan and Victoria were driving towards a seaside villa. A strange glint flickered in Ethan's eyes. Victoria, however, remained oblivious, basking in the perceived joy of having shed all constraints. Ethan drove with a smug smile, occasionally taking Victoria's hand and kissing it. "Victoria, finally, no one can disturb us. Do you know, all those years I was abroad, I thought about you constantly. Do you know how heartbroken I was when I heard you were already married? Finally, we can stand together openly." Victoria leaned back in her seat, her gaze slightly hazy. She nodded slightly, a flicker of unease inexplicably crossing her mind. She instinctively reached for her phone, then pulled her hand back. "Maybe we should turn it on. It might be important if the company can't reach us." "Relax, relax. The company will handle everything. Besides, it's probably not good for us to show up right now anyway." Meanwhile, the entertainment media weren't idle. Having obtained the leaked materials, they swarmed like sharks scenting blood, digging deeper into the details. Finally, after work hours that afternoon, a deluge of information began to surface. Reporters contacted my friends, learning indirectly about my years of forbearance and sacrifice. Article after article, filled with sympathy for me and condemnation for Victoria, began appearing. The 7-year agony of a secret husband. Why was the superstar so heartless? There were pictures, evidence, timelines, screenshots, countless pieces of proof flooded the internet. The story instantly ignited nationwide debate. Netizens were furious, the comment sections filled with curses. "Victoria Ainsworth is so shameless, cheating while married and acting so righteous, my heart aches for Sincere Clark. What must he have gone through these 7 years? Justice must be served Ethan Thorne, that pretty boy who uses women to get ahead." Ban them both. The tidal wave of public opinion sent Victoria's and Ethan's agencies into a full-blown panic. Dominic Harper called an emergency high-level meeting to discuss countermeasures. The PR team proposed various solutions, paying off the media, having Victoria apologize publicly to salvage her image. But each option was fraught with difficulty. One wrong move could destroy the company's years of accumulated reputation. Victoria was their main star, and the timing, right after the concert announcement, couldn't be worse. Still no contact with Victoria Ainsworth? Dominic Harper, usually calm and collected, finally couldn't stop himself from roaring. Miss Miller hesitated for a long moment before nodding. Send Victoria Ainsworth a legal notice. This evidence is too solid, there's no escaping it. Cut ties immediately, shift all the blame onto her. On Ethan's side, after failing to reach him, Agent Davies decided to play his trump card. Initiate Plan B. Simultaneous statements from both companies detonated the public opinion bomb. Social media platforms nearly crashed multiple times. Victoria and Ethan, however, had arrived at the seaside villa and were already immersed in their unrestrained relationship. My plane finally landed at the airport in Paris. 6. Stepping onto the streets of Paris, I finally felt a sense of relief. Honestly, the shadow of my past life still lingered. Who knew what that crazy woman Victoria might do in the end? Only after bringing my family to Europe could I truly relax. I wandered through the Parisian streets, soaking in the foreign atmosphere, yet occasionally sighing at the absurdity of my past marriage. Victoria and I met in college. Back then, she was just an ordinary student who loved to sing. One evening, a club was holding an open-air singing event on the campus green. That's when I first saw her, pure, beautiful, with a clear, bright voice. I fell hopelessly in love from that moment. We gradually got to know each other and became a couple. I devoted myself wholeheartedly to supporting her singing career. As my own career progressed, her fame grew too. Marriage seemed like the natural next step. But just as Victoria's career took off, Ethan Thorne returned. From the day Ethan landed, Victoria changed. She started staying out all night, taking frequent business trips. At the time, I thought it was just work becoming busier. Now, looking back, I realized she must have been secretly meeting Ethan countless times. My feelings, my love, it felt like a joke. During those first few days in Paris, I was busy settling my family into their new home, finding suitable schools, and contacting my new workplace. The busy schedule helped me temporarily push the mess back home out of my mind. I felt a long-lost sense of peace. Since meeting Victoria, I had practically worked non-stop for her singing career, only to end up like this. Thankfully, fate had given me a second chance. This time, I wanted nothing to do with women like her. Back home, however, things were chaotic. The exposé about Victoria and Ethan continued to snowball, the public's fury intensifying. Guided by the two agencies, public opinion relentlessly pushed towards the conclusion that Victoria Ainsworth is a promiscuous woman. The momentum seemed unstoppable. In times like these, netizens who love drama naturally formed so-called boycott alliances. Instantly, all sorts of rumors and accusations, true and false, flew across the internet. People dug up past scandals, magnifying even the smallest hints of wrongdoing. Brands endorsed by Victoria quickly withdrew their sponsorships. Ads already filmed were pulled. The company suffered massive losses. Ethan's situation was even worse. Investors pulled out of several new dramas he was cast in overnight. Scheduled variety show appearances vanished. Fans deserted him in droves, leaving scathing comments. The voices that once adored him now turned into the sharpest knives. In Paris, I occasionally checked the news from back home, watching events unfold exactly as I had anticipated. My feelings were mixed. Seeing the woman I once loved deeply become a public pariah wasn't entirely without effect, but mostly, I felt a sense of relief and release. Finally, after 3 days at Victoria's insistence, they turned their phones back on. We both have busy careers. We can't just act recklessly like this, Victoria mumbled as she switched on her phone. The moment the phone powered up, it was flooded with calls. Victoria, you finally answered. Where the hell have you been these past few days? Ms. Miller's furious voice blasted through the speaker. Victoria was bewildered. In all the years they'd worked together, her assistant had never spoken to her like this. What's wrong with you today? Did you wake up on the wrong side of the bed? Victoria, still in a relatively good mood, tried to joke. The person on the other end nearly lost it. Wrong side of the bed. I feel like I swallowed a nuclear bomb. What have you been doing these past few days? Don't tell me your phone was off the whole time and you have no idea what's happened online. Well, yes, my phone was off. Victoria suddenly felt guilty, a sense of foreboding creeping into her heart. Then you'd better take a good look right now at exactly what has happened, 7. Victoria fumbled to open her phone's browser. The very first news alert that popped up made her tremble. Pure image superstar secretly married for 7 years, seduces hot pop idol. Victoria instantly understood. She clicked on the link, her screen filling with trending hashtags and overwhelming waves of abuse. Her face instantly turned deathly pale. Her fingers trembled as she scrolled through news article after article. Every word felt like a knife stabbing her heart. How could this happen? How? She muttered, her voice filled with disbelief and terror. The damning evidence and photos presented in the reports were like hammer blows. Having been in the entertainment industry for so long, Victoria knew there was no way to simply smooth this over. Ethan leaned over beside her. When he saw the content on the screen, his smug expression instantly froze, replaced by panic and helplessness. This is all fake. Someone must be deliberately trying to slander us. Ethan tried to appear calm, but his slightly trembling voice betrayed him. You're still with Ethan? Ms. Miller was still yelling through the phone. The company has tried everything, but we can't suppress the public opinion. The boss wants you back at the company immediately right now. Victoria nodded mechanically. After hanging up, she looked at Ethan, her eyes pleading. Ethan, what should we do? Ethan gritted his teeth. Let's go back to the company first. Maybe there's still a chance. They rushed back to the city. The atmosphere inside the car was suffocatingly tense. The cityscape flew past the windows, but neither had the heart to appreciate it, consumed by the thought of the storm they were about to face. As soon as Victoria stepped into the company building, she felt an icy chill. Her colleagues' gazes held accusation, resentment, pity, and most prevalently, schadenfreude. Her boss, Dominic Harper, stood at the conference room door, his face dark, looking as if he wanted to devour her whole. Victoria Ainsworth, you've really outdone yourself, Dominic Harper roared. Look at the mess you've made, all the years the company invested in you, completely ruined by you if you can't come up with a perfect solution. Right now, don't blame me for being ruthless. Although the process of cutting ties had begun, Dominic Harper knew Victoria was still the company's biggest earner. He couldn't completely abandon her if there was even a sliver of hope. Victoria lowered her head, tears welling up. She stammered, her eyes darting around nervously. Perhaps the netizens couldn't imagine it, but despite her years in the industry, Victoria had absolutely no ability to handle this kind of crisis. In the past, whenever scandals arose, I was the one who dealt with them for her, and now I was long gone, in Europe.
Mr. Harper, I really don't know how things got like this, I thought. You thought what?
That you could hide it forever and everything would be fine? Dominic Harper cut her off, his eyes blazing with fury. The PR team is working themselves to death, but every plan gets crushed by this wave of public opinion. I'm giving you one last chance. Think hard if there's any evidence that can turn this situation around. If not, prepare to face a lawsuit from the company. Dominic Harper slammed a folder onto the table, glaring at Victoria with frustration and disappointment. At the same time, he gave a subtle look to the head of the PR team. The PR lead stepped forward, his expression grim. Ms. Ainsworth, the situation is extremely critical. The public's hostility towards you is immense. Our proposed solutions, like buying off the media or issuing a public apology, might backfire. Furthermore, the brands are already demanding compensation. If we don't quell the public outrage soon, the company's losses will be immeasurable. So, if you can't come up with a viable solution right now, the company will have no choice but to sue you. Victoria panicked. She looked at Ethan beside her as if he were her last lifeline. Ethan, what do I do now? But Ethan stood with his head bowed, a faint smile playing on his lips. The next second, a tear suddenly rolled down his cheek. "What do we do? Victoria, what can I do? I loved you so much, and you were married the whole time, and now you're trying to ruin my future too?" 8. Ethan's sudden outburst echoed through the conference room. Victoria was completely stunned. "Ethan, what are you talking about? Didn't you know all this already?" "Know what?" "You clearly told me you hadn't dated anyone all these years." A dramatic scene unfolded in the conference room. Victoria instantly realized Ethan's intention, but before she could retort, Ethan stormed out. "Just you wait, Victoria Ainsworth. You ruined my future. I will definitely seek justice." Dominic Harper, the old fox, immediately understood that Ethan was cutting his losses. Sure enough, barely 10 minutes after Ethan left, a legal notice from his agency arrived. They demanded compensation for damage to Ethan's reputation, attaching a series of so-called evidence attempting to portray him as an innocent victim who had been kept in the dark. Victoria stared at the legal notice, trembling with rage. The legal notice reignited the public debate, and the narrative began to purposefully shift. "Victoria, you have 10 minutes. If you can't produce anything valuable, then we're done here today." Dominic Harper finished speaking and strode out of the conference room. Victoria looked pleadingly at the others remaining, but everyone in the company now avoided her like the plague, as if she carried some dreadful disease. The young assistants who used to hover around her, flattering her, now huddled in corners, secretly glancing at her with disdain and fear. The PR team made a last-ditch effort, gathered together, brows furrowed, sighing at the social media statistics on their screens. The heat just won't die down. The netizens are going crazy. Any counter-narratives we try to push get instantly buried under curses and abuse. Yeah, and now Ethan's side is turning on her, putting even more pressure on us. If Victoria can't come up with a strong counterattack, it's really over. Victoria sat slumped in her chair, utterly devastated. She tried to recall anyone or anything from her past that could salvage the situation, but her mind was a chaotic mess. Right, there's still Sincere. Sincere can help me. Victoria frantically dialed my number from her chair, but how could I have left her that lifeline? The SIM card had been removed the moment the plane took off. At that moment, in Paris, I was accompanying my family at the Louvre, admiring the masterpieces. My parents smiled beside me, enjoying this rare, warm moment. Occasionally, I received messages from friends back home, telling me about Victoria and Ethan's dire situation. I would simply sigh softly and put the phone back in my pocket. The past was past. I wouldn't let those troubles disturb my newfound peace. Back home, the public outcry continued unabated. Victoria's fans turned against her, exposing past instances of her diva behavior and mistreatment of staff online, further damaging her image. Ethan's situation, however, was completely different. Under his agency's deliberate manipulation and guidance, his image was successfully reframed as that of a victim. He even managed to leverage the scandal, turning the negative attention into opportunity and landing several new acting roles. Half a month later, the dust finally settled. Victoria's contract was terminated, leaving her saddled with enormous debt and facing endless online condemnation. Ethan, on the other hand, seized the opportunity to climb the ladder, becoming one of the hottest male stars. But none of this had anything to do with me anymore. Over the following months, my career in Paris flourished. I had become a key member of the company. 9. Misnumbered as 10 in original Chinese. I thought my life would continue happily like this. But unexpectedly, one day as I was leaving work, a woman wearing oversized sunglasses and a mask appeared before me. It was, shockingly, Victoria Ainsworth, who had vanished months ago. I looked at this woman once so familiar, now just a stranger invoking revulsion, and unconsciously stopped in my tracks. The bustling sounds of the Paris streets seemed to fade. A complex mix of emotions surged within me, surprise, anger, but mostly a gnawing worry that my peaceful life was about to be disrupted. Victoria was gaunt. The dazzling star power she once commanded on stage was completely gone. Seeing me stop, she stumbled towards me, seemingly afraid I'd turn and walk away. Sincere. Her voice was raspy, with an almost undetectable tremor. I've been looking for you for so long. Please help me. I stared at her coldly. Help you? Victoria, what makes you think I would ever help you again? When you were with Ethan, did you ever consider this day would come? Her eyes instantly reddened behind the sunglasses. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I know I was wrong. I realize now that only you were ever truly good to me. I was fooled by that bastard Ethan. Now my contract's terminated. I'm penniless, drowning in debt, and creditors are hounding me every day. I cut her off impatiently. But what does that have to do with me? You brought this upon yourself. With that, I turned to leave, wanting no further entanglement with her. But she lunged forward, grabbing my arm tightly. Sincere, for the sake of what we once had, please help me. I know you can what we had. Victoria, after all these years, after everything I gave, this is what I got in return? Did you think about what we had when you and Ethan kicked me out? Did you think about what we had when you were sneaking around with him? Victoria's tears flowed uncontrollably. I was wrong. I truly know I was wrong. Sincere, after all this, I finally understand that only you were truly good to me. I wronged you before. Come back to me. I really need you. When the scandal broke, Ethan dumped me immediately and even joined his company in attacking me. I see his true colors now. Only you were ever sincere with me. I forcefully shook off her hand. It's too late, Victoria. Everything is too late. When I needed you most, you discarded me like trash. Now that you've hit rock bottom, you remember me? Do you think I'll soften? She stumbled back a few steps, looking at me with despair. Are you really that heartless? Sincere, I'm begging you, even just a little money, enough to survive. I promise I'll never bother you again. I took a deep breath, suppressing the flicker of pity in my heart. Impossible. You need to take responsibility for your actions. From the moment you chose Ethan and betrayed our marriage, you should have anticipated this outcome. With that, I turned to leave decisively. However, Victoria dropped to her knees at my feet, clutching my legs. Sincere, don't be like this even if you won't help me. Can you just forgive me? Let me stay by your side. I'll do anything for you. Be your slave. I don't need anything else. Just don't leave me. But I truly wanted nothing more to do with this crazy woman. Victoria, stop playing the victim here. If you felt even a shred of guilt for our relationship, the best thing you could do now is disappear from my life completely. After saying that, I walked away without looking back, leaving her sobbing heartbrokenly behind me. Returning home, the sound of my family's laughter greeted me. I silently vowed never to let that woman disrupt the peace I had worked so hard to regain. What I didn't expect was that Victoria truly did disappear from my life. She returned to our home country and dropped another bombshell. She released a pre-scheduled video online at night. In it, she detailed how Ethan had slowly approached and seduced her, leading her into this abyss. It was all Ethan. It was him. He just wanted to use me to get everything he has. Now, at the end of the video, Victoria's eyes were bloodshot. I had seen that look before, just before she set the fire that killed my family in the other life. Seeing it again, even on screen, sent a chill down my spine. But ultimately, Victoria's revenge wasn't aimed at me, it was aimed at Ethan. An hour before the video was released, Ethan was accepting an award at some event. Victoria suddenly rushed onto the stage with a knife, blood splattered. Ethan died instantly. Victoria was apprehended by the police. Only then was the video posted online. Victoria had also included all the supporting evidence. The backlash against Ethan's agency for leveraging negative publicity hit swiftly and hard. Their stock plummeted, and Victoria, having caused such a massive public incident, was, unsurprisingly, sentenced to death. A few months later, the people who had caused me so much pain were completely gone from the world. Truthfully, during those months I had been constantly worried. Worried that Victoria would show up again and harm my family. That's why I had taken my family traveling. I never expected Victoria wouldn't pursue me further, instead focusing her retribution on Ethan. Finally, the dust had truly settled. It felt like I could finally truly enjoy my life. building a career in a foreign land. My career soared, and my life gradually headed towards a happier future. The only thing missing, perhaps, was my belief in love. I thought I would never experience love again in this lifetime, until someone appeared. I met Florence Dubois at a company celebration banquet. Holding a glass of wine and wearing a long dress, she approached me gracefully and introduced herself. "Sincere, from now on, we'll be partners." It turned out Florence was the liaison sent by our company's partner firm. It was also that day I learned I had been appointed head of the European division. And so Florence and I began working closely together. She was warm, kind, and full of empathy. We went from strangers